Hi everyone, my name is Renee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of Independent Authors Book Experience, and I'm here to invite you to the 10th annual Independent Authors Book Expo. Yes, I said 10. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary in 2023. We're so excited. We are inviting you, if you're an author, a vendor, an illustrator, an editor, you want to sign up, register early. The spots are going fast. Register at www.iabx.org. And if you're an attendee, you want to visit us also at iabx.org just to see who is going to be here. It's going to be amazing. See you there. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Author Speaks. I should also say Happy New Year because this is our first one for 2023. And this month we are featuring authors in the genre of autobiographies, biographies, and memoirs. Today, we have two amazing authors for you today. They are going to blow you away with their stories. And I'm not going to keep talking, but I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are. If this is the first time you're joining us, IABX Independent Authors Book Experience is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to support and promote independent authors through various events and workshops, events such as the Author Speaks, and workshops. We have the IABX Writers Cafe, which we do weekly. We have the Author Speaks, such as this, which we do monthly. And we have our events, our premier event, which is our Independent Authors Book Expo, which we are celebrating 10 years this year. And that's going to be at Kane University. And it's going to be from 12 to 6 p.m. and that's September 30th. And also this year, we're hosting our IABX Literary Gala. So if you are an author or a bookseller or an illustrator and you want to be in the room with amazing authors as well, we're inviting you to sign up. Our website is www.iabx.org. And for the first time this year, we're also hosting our Children's Book Festival. And this is in June, on June 10th, 2023. We're still registering authors for that, so definitely visit our website and be a part of the celebrations. So, okay, we already have some people in the room. Darlene, hi, welcome. Peggy Sue, hello, welcome. We have some amazing authors for you, so stick around and hear what they have to say. And also, please drop in the chat where you're from, just so that we know where you are. All right, so our first author is Miss Carol Selick. And I'm not going to say too much, but I'm just going to say that Miss Carol Selick is a singer and songwriter. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, and tell us where you're from.
I'm from Monroe Township, New Jersey, but I've lived in different areas of New Jersey my whole life, so guess I'm a Jersey girl.
A Jersey girl. All right. Welcome, Jersey girl, Miss Carol Selick. And then our next author is Dr. Cadmus Hull. Welcome, Dr. Hull.
Hi, Renee. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have to say, Dr. Hull is one of our regulars, right? He's always writing, so he's always coming back to share a book with us. So yes, welcome, Dr. Hull.
Thank you.
Yes. You very much. Okay, so I see Darlene is from Jersey. She's from all of Jersey. And then Miss Angie Gray is from South Jersey. Welcome, Angie. Okay, so let's get to it. We just want to start. Carol, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a singer-songwriter. I also taught piano and voice for about 30 years. And I did get to work with some famous songwriters during the 60s and 70s, especially one in particular whose name was Rosemary McCoy. And I write about her in my book. She wrote for Nat King Cole. She wrote for Elvis, believe it or not.
Oh,
So I've had some very interesting experiences, and I'm definitely a child of the late 60s and early 70s as far as growing up during that time period.
oh, wonderful. I know you have a lot to share. I can't wait to hear about those stories of the 60s and 70s. Dr. Hall, tell us a little about yourself.
Yes, Renee, I'm a retired teacher, principal, and superintendent of schools. Now, I taught graduate courses and work with graduate students to help them become teachers. Um, the main thing that I want to indicate is that before attaining these positions, I went through many trials and tribulations. I was born in a small community in Maryland called Wetumpka, Maryland. And I came to New Jersey with my mother, and I was riding on the back of a work truck, a farm truck. That's how I got. 3 years old at the time. And it took about 3.5 hours to come to New Jersey. And my mom came because she wanted to get better conditions. And we moved to this small oyster town called Picket at the Moon. Never heard of it, so I know it's a small community, probably had maybe 100 people in it. And growing up, I never had running water, indoor plumbing until I was married and had my own apartment. I never had a TV or a gas or electric stove or refrigerator until I was in third grade. I never had anything for heating but a wood stove. But in spite of my early life, I was fortunate enough to have several people that entered my life and helped me. One that I want to highlight is my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Kunkel. And I've thanked her many years for because I was retained in 1st grade. And when I never got anything better than a C minus, but one day in her 8th grade class, she gave a science test. And I took the test and got a B minus. Well, you would have thought I had gotten an A because she praised me the whole day. Well, something happened with me. And from that day on, I never got any grades below a B. And I just went on in life, worked, made the honor roll several times in high school. But the problem was when I graduated, there were no jobs for a person that looked like me. And so I had to go to work in oyster house, clam house, worked in the bean fields, you name it. You name the back-breaking job, and I did it. Worked in iron foundry with sledgehammers, breaking up iron and so forth. But one time, what happened is I was lucky enough to get a job, and some of the people that aren't here will know about this, at Two Guys, the department store in Vineland, New Jersey. And I see Carol shaking her head.
Yeah,
Well,
I worked at Two Guys for one summer between, for college. Yeah.
right. Well, see, I thought, well, I hate to use this phrase, I thought I died and gone to heaven, so to speak, because I had a job that wasn't a back-breaking job. I went to work dressed in the slacks and tie and shirt and so forth, and I was able to move up to department manager for the camera and lighting department. Well, another break came in life for me. Two of the people that I had gone to school with worked for me. I was department manager, and they worked for me. And they said, and they always call me Sam, said, you got good grades in school. Why don't you go to this new county college, Cumberland County College? And said, you should be able to pass it. And so I did go to that college, and I went there. And even though at the time I had a family of three that I
Wow.
had to help, and which was difficult, but in spite of all of that, what I was able to do was graduate from Cumberland County College, working at night from 9 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the morning, and going to college from 8 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was able to get my associate degree, went on to Rowan College at the time. I mean, at the
Yes.
time it was called Glassboro State College. Now it's
Okay.
called Rowan University. And from there, I was able to go on and get my master's and my doctorate. So
Okay.
I,
Don't tell us too much. We want to get in some from the
yeah,
camera.
I know. I don't want to stop, but I just wanted to share that,
Yes.
Carol, and I don't want to take any of your time, but that was
No.
important that people know
Yes.
what I had to go through to get to where I am. That's important to me
Yes.
Yeah, it's impressive. It really is.
because I have turned eight on the ninth, and through all those trials and tribulations. I'll turn it back over to you now.
No, I apologize if it felt like I was cutting you off, Dr. Hall, but
No, I did not.
one of the things that is very inspiring about Dr. Hall's story is the fact that of where he came from, what he went through, as he just mentioned, and also now where he is and what he has been able to accomplish in his lifetime. And I know that is important. He's one of our even though today we're focusing on autobiographies, he's one of our Black history heroes because of what he has been able to achieve as the first African American superintendent in his county. So
Wow.
we honor you for that, Dr. Hall, and we
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Um,
Wow.
and Carol, going back to you're a musician from the 60s and the 70s, and
Mhm.
you were writing songs, and we're here to talk about your book, but we want to talk a little bit about your singing history and what brought you to this book.
Well, that was the time period when women singer-songwriters were just coming into the forefront. People like Carole King, Joni Mitchell,
Mm,
Carly Simon, Laura Nyro, and women were expressing themselves through their music about the time period, which was groundbreaking, really, in many, many ways, and especially for women, because we were sort of stuck between our parents' expectations of just getting married and having children, or just experiencing life on a whole other level with basically there was so much freedom and sexual freedom. And I really admired these women's songwriters and singers, and that was my goal. My goal was to be like them.
okay. um and in terms of your music, how did that time period, how did it shape the songs that you wrote, or the genre that you decided to go into as a musician?
Well, it was, I guess, sort of like a women's blues. That's how I would categorize it. And it was about experiencing relationships and conflicts and just all the inner fears of not finding someone, and then fears of finding someone and being sort of tied down. So I just had a very strong need to express myself and not just rhyme moon with June, and, to just have it be meaningful.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think that is important, whether you're a songwriter or an author, to make sure that the whatever it is that you're producing, whether it's a music or a story or a book, that it really has meaning and it has some depth to it, that when someone reads it, they listen to your music, they can really appreciate, and it stirs something within them. It stirs something, and it makes them want to do something. So we appreciate you for taking that stance in your music and wanting to do that. So tell us a little bit about your book and what's your book about? Yes.
Well, my book is Beyond the Song, and it's an autobiographical novel based on my coming of age in the late 60s and early 70s. And I spent time in college in Washington, D.C. during the protests, for the anti-war protests. I traveled to California, and then I end up in New York City, where I am mentored by a songwriter. And it also is about my trials and tribulations in relationships and in finding myself. And every chapter starts with lyrics of an original song.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Very
Thank
nice. I
you.
can't wait to
Very
get
nice.
to pick up my copy. And Angie Gray says, love that title, Beyond the Song. Is that it? Beyond the Song?
Yes,
Yes, love that. Love that.
thank
Um,
you.
and Dr. Hall, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes, Renee, as you know, this is Black History Month.
Yes.
And my book, um, The Black History Bowl Flashbacks, Reflections, African American Contributions Matter 2020. And it was so important to me to write this book because this book is a follow up to a book that um, I received an award from your association. This book
Yeah.
here, if you remember,
Yes,
in
yes.
2019. And this book has 135 mini biographies
Wow.
on famous African Americans. In addition, it covers some other things that I think are very important to anyone. It talks about Kwanzaa, how to have a Kwanzaa celebration, Juneteenth, the day that slaves were actually freed, the Spingarn Medal, the medal that the NAACP gives you, a top medal. And then I covered civil rights leaders, the biographies on them, scientists and inventors, pioneers, education, government, literature, sports, and entertainment. And I added two other areas that are not in the book that I won the award for, religion and military.
Okay.
In addition, I found that African American women were not mentioned in most books. So I did a section on African American women in history, and I did a timeline on African American history from 1619 when the slaves were brought over to Jamestown up to 2020. And then the last section is the Negro National Anthem. So
Okay.
this book has a number of sections on it, but the biographies are the things that are so important. So many people have done things. I wanted to highlight them, and I wanted to tweak the interest of people because what I want them to do is read the mini biography and then do some further research to find out more about that person.
Absolutely. And that is such a relevant book, not just not just for this month because it's Black History Month, but because in general you don't get to see a lot of this information, especially when they're not the more popular um, uh, Black history characters. You have
Exactly.
Harriet Tubman, you have, so many of the others that people know off the cuff, but you don't know some of the other unsung heroes. So definitely this book. Give us the title again, Dr. Hull.
It's called The Black History Bowl Flashbacks, Reflections, African American Contributions Matter 2020. I just want to take 1 minute to read
Okay.
something about one person because set up is that it's like a quiz guide. It
Okay.
doesn't say the person's name, even though the answers are in the book.
Okay.
Okay. So what I want to do is just take one thing, one person, and it
Mm-hmm.
says this famous African American inventor was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1992. He was an orphan at the age of 9. He never got more than a sixth grade education. He was raised by a priest until he was 16. He then returned to Cincinnati where he got a job as a mechanic. At the age of 19, he had built several racing cars and drove them. He was inventor of the first practical refrigeration system for the long haul trucks. And it goes on, and it ends with this famous African American built the first transmitter for the Hawlock radio station. In 1938, he built a ticket dispensing machine used by movie houses. He was recognized as an authority in refrigeration and engineering. And so I want the person to try to think, because in the beginning, I give them all the names, but they have to figure out which one it is. This happens to be Frederick Jones. Now,
Oh,
the average person has never heard of that name, but he was,
no.
you can see, I didn't read the whole mini biography, but I read enough so you can get an idea of what it
Right.
is. That just gives you an idea of what the book covers.
Okay. And the going back to Carol, because you start off with being a singer-songwriter, what skills as a singer-songwriter helped you to write this book? And I should even start with what inspired you to write the book. That's the first thing. What inspired you?
Well, I did experience some very, I guess they were part of the times, but they were kind of extreme as far as experiences went. And I wanted to somehow make sure that I had written it down. And I started in my late 20s, actually. And then I put it away. And then in my 40s, one of my college roommates unfortunately passed away. And that made me start writing again. And then I put that away. And then about 10 years later, I just decided I had to finish this book. And I was lucky to work with an editor and a writing coach in Princeton. And she was about my age, so she understood what it was like during that time period.
Right.
And she guided me. She didn't write a single word, but she guided me. And I was really amazed as to how difficult it is to write a book compared to, say, a song. It takes so much work
Yeah.
and so many different skills and thought processes. But it was a labor of love, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
And one of the things I think about writing a memoir, because I don't know about your life, but I mean, I may not have lived as long as you, but everything hasn't all been peaches and cream. So
Right.
there may have been some instances where there are some hard stories that you had to tell. How did you manage to put those areas of your life in the book, and how did you manage the
Right. Well, the book is, my alter ego in the book is Carol Marks. So
okay.
I'd say 80% of it is true, but I had read an article by other writers who had said that you cannot worry about offending your sister or your best friend. If you're going to write a book, you have to really get to the truth. And also, it was like my older self re-experiencing things as my younger self. So it was like a very interesting perspective, but I did put things in there that, people could be very judgmental about and think, not well of me, but it was the story that I had to tell.
Yeah. And it's your story, you're telling your truth, as they say. You
Right.
you have to be that, you have to be honest. If you're going to do it, you have to do it.
Absolutely.
That's
Right.
what I believe. And those if you're on right now, I know there are a few people in the chat room, so who are watching live. If you have any questions for Carol or Dr. Hall, just type it in. Just type it on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, just type it, and we can definitely share them with the author. We have one coming in. Dr. Hull, I love the setup of your book. I used to be an online teacher, and one of my popular classes was the one on African American inventors. That's from Miss Darlene Chidoba. So
Thank you.
yes, so I'm sure she's going to get it. And he has several other books, so you can definitely check those out. And we have a comment here from Angie Gray that says she loves the idea of starting each chapter with original lyrics. That's very creative. So we have the comments are keep the comments coming. We want them to hear about, ask them any questions. We'll pop it up and just ask the authors as we're going. And Dr. Hull, as far as, what was the hardest part for you writing the book?
The hardest part for me was editing the book, because the way that my book is set up, if I change one thing, I have to go back and readjust several pages and make sure that they are in line with it. Because what I read to you about Frederick Douglass, I have him on my mind. He's another, but Frederick Jones.
Frederick Jones.
If I change something in his and then I go back and try to do things, it throws it out of whack for the publisher. So I have to make sure that I go in and align everything, because I don't want information that should be on one mini biography of a famous African American to end up on someone else's. So the editing it would be the hardest part for me in doing it.
What about you, Carol? For your book, what did you find?
I found that there were certain scenes that I needed to expand, and I found that to be difficult. There was one in particular where I'm standing in line for an open audition call for Jesus Christ Superstar. And there are these construction workers across the street that are making fun of us because we were hippies. And every time I thought I'd written a lot of that scene, my editor kept saying, no, you need to write more. You need to expand it more. So, yeah, found that to be a little challenging.
Yeah, unpacking that information, digging deep. I can imagine that, a lot of the stories were from especially if you're going further back, like the very beginning, to really dig into your mind and say, okay, what did I do? What was I doing? And really work through I call it the knots in your head, trying to decipher, okay, and some things you think are not important, but your editor is saying, no, that's what's going to make your story.
Right. Yeah, it's like the devil's in the details. I never realized that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's different with being a songwriter, because how did you find, I think I asked you before, what was the difference between writing a song and writing this book?
Because a song is more like a puzzle, and once you figure it out, I mean, it's a short puzzle, but the book is an ongoing process that takes a very, very long time. But I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I had a burning desire. I had to write it. I just had to write it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as like Dr. Hull, I know we kind of know who your audience is, but when people read your book, what is it that you want them to take away from your book?
The main thing I want them to take away is that I want them to study about African American history 365 days a year, rather than just Black History Month. I promote it very heavily during Black History Month, but it's a book that should be studied all year long. African Americans have a lot of contributions to American history. And unless you take time to really study it, you really won't know about it. I have a library of over 1,000 books that I, read, and the majority of them are on African Americans, because I want to make sure that I know as much as I can on it. I started out loving English history, England and so forth. I love the Three Musketeers, you name it. I was all into those kind of things. But later on, I found out when I went to my first school as an administrator, I had 70% minority students that really didn't know that much about African American history. And I'm their principal. So what I did a lot of research, developed what's a Black History Bowl, had the only Black History Bowl in the county at the time.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to make sure all children knew it, not just African American, because I said 70%. So there was 30% other. And the children really got into it. It was just amazing. They look forward. I still have children. They're not children now. They're young adults that come up to me and say, "Hey, Dr. Hall, you remember we used to play the Black History Bowl and so forth." Sometime on Facebook, I'll put questions on there to see if some of the people know it. And my teachers, I have just a list of teachers that supported me so much in promoting the Black History Bowl.
I can imagine putting that book together. How long did it take you to work on this book?
Well, from this book, this is my third Black History book, but I also have another memoir, which is this book.
Yes.
And I have one that I developed with some other authors. And that book there, I had it in my hand a few minutes ago, but it's called The Power. And it's amazing when you put things aside. Power Talk. I apologize for that. Power Talk. Now, this book cannot be purchased, online. It has to be purchased from me.
Okay.
But as you see it, there were
Power Talk. Yes.
Yeah, there was 5 other authors, and an anthology is the way we did it. And I wanted to promote that book as well because those authors took time along with me to tell about their past, their memoirs of their past as well. But I just want to make a one shout out. I do want to make another one. But when I retired, how I started with my first book, my wife knew I loved African American history. And she said, "Why don't you sit down and write a book about African American history?" So I did just that. And this was my first book. This book is in 20 different schools in South Jersey.
The Black History Bowl, that's your first one.
This is my first book. And it's in 20 different schools. They use it in their curriculum. And so I was forced there. But that just went from one book to the next. As you can see, I love African American history.
and as you should, it's one thing, when you go through the culture. I'm originally from Jamaica. So my history is a little different from the African American history. But I think it's something that we can all relate to as people of color, Black people, people who have gone through certain similar stories, whether you're a person of color or a Black individual. So I think it's good to, whether, to have that experience, to have a resource that you can go to, that you can use. Angie says she used it with her students, your book. So you have a fan, Dr. Hull. You have a fan.
Great.
I think someone here posted that they I think when you were talking, Carol, and someone asked about the songs, and it's except you have the musical talent to write a song, which I think some people would say that that's even more difficult than writing a book, because you have to get all your thoughts into so many lines, so.
Yeah, but it also helps, you have the melody to guide you. So I don't know. I find, it's not that easy. I was very, very fortunate to learn about songwriting, as I had mentioned earlier, from Rosemary McCoy, who was a Black songwriter. Um, and she sort of like was an independent woman. She didn't work with any publishers exclusively. And she taught me, a lot as far as songwriting. So I feel very lucky to have known her. She was from New Jersey. I mean, she lived in New Jersey most of her life. She lived in Teaneck.
Okay. I think
Mhm.
that's another name for you to add, Dr. Hull.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree. She was originally from Arkansas and she did get in the Arkansas Hall of Fame. And
Oh,
her
okay.
friends, we were trying to get her into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and nobody can
Hmm.
understand why. She wrote like 400 or 500 songs published for Ike
Oh.
and Tina Turner record. She passed away about 8 years ago at like
Wow.
92.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
she was an amazing woman, and someone wrote a book, a friend of hers wrote a book about her, and there was a PBS special about her a few years ago.
Hmm.
Oh, wonderful. Take
She's,
Advanced.
notes, Dr. Hall. Take notes.
yeah,
Yes.
That's
Yes.
not the other person. And you have Carol who can give you all the details on her so she can
right.
give you her
Okay.
biography.
Okay.
And this is how it works. We are our history. We are history. Every day that
Hmm.
we are here, we are creating history. You know, Carol mentioned that she's from the 60s and the 70s, but you have created history. You've worked with so many people and and been in so many different places to share your work. Did you ever travel out of the country to perform, Carol?
No, I never did. No,
Yeah,
I,
it was
I,
mostly in and around the United States.
right. It was mostly a little bit California, DC, but mostly New York and New Jersey.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And that's such a rich, because New York and New Jersey are big enough, and California, that's just those. I haven't been to California. I'm that's on my list of places to go. But I can imagine that must have been a tough time even then, just trying to get into that business and you know.
Yeah, no, it's true. I write about how I auditioned for a band in San Francisco, and before that, I used to always make the band. And then this organ player, he just said, "You've got more work to do." It was eye opening for me. He said,
Wow,
you need to study more." So yeah, it was an interesting experience.
wow, wow. And the as far as so we know you've written the book, and who is your audience, Carol? Who is the audience for your book?
Well, I think there are two audiences, probably mostly women. I would say baby boomers who have gone through these experiences and understand, but maybe younger women who are curious about that time period because I just think it stands on its own. It's unlike any other time period in history.
Wow. And I'm not really I was born in the 70s, but some of the names that you called in like Joni Mitchell, and those are people that I've heard their music. And I was telling you before that I love country music. I'm from Jamaica. We're a big country and western. We love country music. And I'm driving and I'm cranking my country music. So what is that a part of your rep? I think you had mentioned that you did some country music.
I did. I was in some country bands and I wrote some country songs and I would go to Nashville songwriters conferences. I got interested in it when more singer-songwriters started, like Garth Brooks, people like that who were
Yeah,
writing, sort of more sophisticated lyrics
yeah,
than, the ones before it. But
yeah. And I don't know. It's funny that you mentioned that because I like the older country music.
no,
Um,
well, I like Patsy Cline
yeah,
also. Yeah.
yeah.
I,
I'm a fan of the older.
Mhm.
music. I find that the newer one is the same style, but I prefer my one of my favorites is the boy named Sue.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
I love Sue, and I'm my own grandpa. I don't know if you've heard that one.
No.
No,
But
okay,
no, my husband is actually a musician,
okay,
and he plays sort of jazz trumpet, and he sings. And a few years ago, we recorded a New Orleans style CD with
okay.
a lot of original songs, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay,
Mhm.
wonderful. And just so you know, if you have any questions for any of our authors, please put them in the chat. We'll definitely ask them because we want to get some. We want to get some interaction with you. We want them to know that you're here. Angie says, "I love country music because it frequently tells a story." Absolutely. You always leave with a message. It always tells you something. And so definitely, Angie, I can.
Yeah, I would say the best lyricists in the country are country music writers.
Yeah, yeah, always have a message. It's so much of it touches your heart. So I definitely can attest to that. So now that you've written, is this your only book?
Well, I am actually working on two children's books.
Oh,
And one I'm signing up with this publisher actually this week, and I'm hoping to have it so that I can be part of your children's festival.
yay! So you're talking my language because I'm a children's book author. So
Okay.
that's my genre. That's where I reside. I love working in that genre of I love writing books for children. Um, Go ahead.
Well, my degree is in actually elementary and early childhood education, and I have a Montessori certificate, and I did also teach a preschool music program.
Oh, wow.
So this is something I've always wanted to do.
I would love to see a book that brings in your musical talent along with your that would be something nice to see. I don't know
Well,
what you
yeah, it is about a little boy who wants to play the piano like his grandfather. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait. um so Dr. Hull, I'm asking, but I know you're working. What are you working on now?
Right now, what I'm working on is a two two books. First of all, one, when I did my memoir, the first one, and remember when I started out and I told you my background,
Yes.
this book covers it, okay?
Yes.
But I'm going to do two more because this only goes up to 8th grade. So now I want to do one from uh, high school through my young adult hood, I should say, and then
Okay.
I'll finally do one up to my age now. But I also want to take this book
Hmm.
because it's geared for uh, 3rd grade up. But I want to
Okay.
make it like a children's book, like you're talking about. So this doesn't look that way. This is, I want to have a person do illustrations like
Okay.
you're like Freddie.
Yes.
Your book, Freddie. So that's something I want to do, and I'll be working on that next. On those
Okay.
things.
And I think that's good. It's funny because you start off in one genre and then
Right.
you find yourself working into another. So definitely. A question here for you, Dr. Hall. I came in late, but what age is the Black History book for? This is from
This book,
Avalon.
this book is on their own. Third graders can read this. But let me just tell you something, because with the other book that you have, the Black History Facts book,
Yes.
I had my early childhood teacher. Her name is Sarah Mitchell.
Oh, it's upside down,
She
Dr. Hall.
take down
No, you say it's upside down.
up. Yeah, right. You have a hard time reading that. But she would teach this church. These were 4-year-olds. And in the morning,
Wow.
she would take a fact out of here and she would put it on the board and actually teach them. Okay, so it can be done for classroom teachers as well. But third grade, the age of third grade up is what the book that I just talked about, this book.
Okay,
And
that's the one you're featuring. Yes,
right, this is the one I'm
Black
featuring.
History Bowl. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's a third grade and up, and then we
right.
have another. Maybe it's a statement. Welcome, Vanessa. It says, I can appreciate the fact that Mr. Hull has information out there for the Black community that we may not know, and our children must know in our culture. Must know our culture. Thank you for that, Vanessa. Absolutely. And this is why we appreciate you as authors. Carol, you started out as a singer-songwriter. You put a lot of information and heart into your songs, but now you've written a book that also gives a lot of information to young women that are going through, or maybe, like you said, want to know about what happened in that time frame. And so we appreciate you writing these books and putting your thoughts down, because however long it took you to get it in, it's we appreciate that. The oh, Dr. Peggy said Dr. Hull.
Oh, sorry.
um, so as far as your Carol, you're a new writer, and Dr. Hall, you're a more seasoned writer. But I'm just going to ask, what advice would you give to an aspiring author? Either one can go.
Well, I would say to try to get into the habit of writing maybe every day, even if it's not a lot, a long time period, and to have, I think, have a burning desire to have a story to tell. The main thing is you have a story uniquely yours to tell. So that would be my advice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Carol, I agree with 100%. What I ask, because this is what I do, set aside time every day and try to pick the same time, if possible, to work on your book and stick to it. Get someone to edit your work.
Oh, yeah.
You usually can't find, I don't care how good you think you are, your mistakes, omission or spelling. My wife is excellent at it, and she's my editor. She goes through my book and can do it. Research your craft. Research and be accurate on what you're doing. Follow other writers that are in the same genre you are, and some other ones as well. And and I do this, attend writing webinars provided by other writers.
Yeah.
Those are the key things that I would give
Yes.
to a new writer.
And those are all good points, because as whether you're seasoned or you're a new author, you can always learn something. There's always new something coming out, especially if you're going into new genre, like Carol, you're saying, and even Dr. Hull, you both said you want to do children's books, and there's a whole different feel to a children's book as opposed to writing a memoir or a novel. I write in the children's book genre, but every time I think about writing a novel, I shake. Literally shake. So I understand. I've been working on something now for maybe about 6-7 years. I still, every time I go back, I kind of I twist it and I turn it a little bit, and I definitely can understand that whole, the knots that you get into writing. Vanessa Palmer says good information from with regards to an aspiring author, and Angie Gray says yes, thank you both. And again, remember, if you have any questions here for Dr. Hull or Carol, please drop them in the chat. We'll definitely share that. We have a few more minutes left. We're going to try to wrap up with them. And so I want to ask you this. I always ask this question: pen and paper or computer?
Oh, well, for me, I love the computer.
Yeah.
I just love the feeling of, typing, and yeah, definitely computer for me.
Okay.
Pen and paper for me. I have to, and then I go to the computer, because once I put it in the computer, then I can do all my editing. But I have to start out with pen and paper.
Oh,
Yes.
Now, uh, Renee, can I take 1 minute? I want to do some shout outs, which is important to me, to a few people. One is to my Bible class, which is going to start at 7. Um, it's a Zoom Bible class, and it's headed by our spiritual leader, which is Sister Vanessa Palmer, St. Paul's Baptist Church in Clayton, New Jersey, and some of them are online now, I think. And also to Impact Ministries, headed by Reverend Dr. John Gray and Reverend Dr. Angie Gray. They also have a book publishing business called Onyx Publishing as well. So I want to do some shout out. And they published the memoir that I have.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I just want to acknowledge those people.
Thank
oh,
you.
and I wanted to say something, that I also have a music program. I have performed at libraries, that where I sing songs from the songwriters I've mentioned, Joni Mitchell, Carole King, Laura Nyro, and some of my original songs. And I talk about my book. And I'm going to be in a performance space in Princeton on April 16th called Salon 33. But I'm also looking to expand to more libraries. I've performed at Long Branch Library, Monroe Library.
Oh,
So sort
wonderful. And what's the date on that in Princeton?
It's April 16th. It's a Sunday night.
Okay, April 16th. So if you're out there and you're paying attention, you can make that drive. Please support Carol. And that's April
And
16th.
that's April 16th. Yes,
On a
Salon
Sunday. What did
33.
I just say? I think I just said
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Right.
And Angie says, thank you so much, Dr. Hull. And Angie says, congratulations. And it's very important. It's very important for us to support each other as best as we can, because we're a large community, but we're also a small community, and especially when you're familiar with someone. Now, Carol, you're into the IABX fold, so we welcome you. And
Thank you.
we're here to support you any way that we can. And if we can take that drive, we'll take that drive and see you in Princeton, and vice versa. If you come up north, definitely, we will definitely try to make that connection with you. But as authors, we are here to support each other and to find out where we are, what we're doing, what we're working on. If you can purchase Carol's book, it's called Beyond the Song. Definitely do that.
Yeah, it's
um,
on Amazon.
Okay, and while we're doing that, I'm going to just let you just share your. Vanessa Palmer says thank you both, and Peggy Sue says this was a very interesting event. We want to thank our online audience for chiming in and being very active and just communicating with our authors, and we want to share where you can find their books. So, Carol, can you just share?
Well, it's on Amazon. It's also, there are links on my website, which is carolselickmusic.com. And I want to thank you, Renee. This was a wonderful experience. And Dr. Hall, you are a really amazing man, and I have a lot of high regard for you.
Thank you. And I feel the same way about you. I love that country music. I like all music.
Yes, we like
Thank
all music.
I
And
really do.
Dr. Oh, wait a second. Oh, ooh, Carol. Hi, Carol. I work at the Roseville Public Library. Can you give me your contact information?
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
yeah, so we already have a booking for you, Carol.
That's great.
So, Marita, I will let me just put up Carol's information again. Hold on. put up Carol's information again. So Carol is her website is carolselickmusic.com, and you can send her or you can send her an email at
Yes.
songsc2@gmail.com.
Right. That would probably be the best, the email.
So send her again an email at songsctwo@gmail.com. Wonderful. I love
That's
it. This is
great.
amazing. This is why we do what we do. We want to make sure that you get your information out there. And Darlene says thank you both. And Angie says this was awesome. Thank you to each of you. And Dr. Hall, I didn't forget you. So
No,
Dr. Hall, can you tell us where we can get your ooh, look at this handsome gentleman.
yes.
Can you
Um,
tell us where your information is?
my information, my website is Dr. Cadmus S. Hall. So it's DrCadmusShull.com, or you can go to Amazon.com as well. But that's my website that I just gave you.
Yes. And we just want to thank Carol and Dr. Hull and Roselle Public Libraries in Roselle. So you can definitely, we gave Marita your contact information. So she'll probably be
Great.
reaching out to you. So you already have a booking, Carol.
Thank you.
This is
Sounds
what we're
good.
trying to do here. We want to make sure that you are part of this program, and you definitely leave with something. And Dr. Hull, we can definitely connect you because you're part of do something with Black History Month. So we really appreciate you both for coming here and sharing your story with us. And please don't be a stranger. When you write your next book,
Mhm.
definitely come back and share it with us, because we're excited about what you're doing and we want to share that with everybody else in the community. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. And I'm just going to do some housekeeping again so that everybody knows what's going on. The next author speak will be next Monday, and we're featuring Women's History Month. So we're featuring women authors, and that's going to be March 15th. So if you're a female author and you'd like to participate, please visit our website at iabx.org. Um, and we have people still talking in the chat. We also have our children's book festival that's coming up on June 10th. It's a Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3:30, and that's at the Warnaco Sports Center. If you're a children's book author or a young adult author, please sign up at iabx.org. And then our big premiere event is our IABX Literary Cafe, Literary Gala, and our Book Expo. That's September 29th and September 30th. We're partnering with Kane University at Downs Hall. So definitely come on down. It's going to be an amazing time. Please sign up at our website. And let me just get in our last few comments. Dr. Hall, this is from Jada's Hope Chest. She says, I work with third grade. Dr. Hall, so I guess this is your book is right up her alley. And
Okay.
Dr. Hall, can you share your book again?
Yes, I certainly will. It's called the Black History Bowl Flashbacks, Reflection, African American Contributions Matter 2020.
Carol, can you share your book again?
Yes, it's called Beyond the Song.
And that's such a beautiful cover. I
Mhm.
really
Thank
like the
you.
cover. It's so pleasing and pleasant. It just makes you want to pick it up,
I
you know.
appreciate that.
And Marita says, thank you both so much for the information. Great program. And we have also a comment from Samantha Molensky. Thank you so much. Thank you, Samantha, for being a part of our show. And our last comment here is from Darlene Chadoba. And she says, you both exemplify the importance of turning your past experiences around to benefit others. And I couldn't have said it better. That's a great way to wrap up our program. Thank you, Carol Selick,
Thank
singer
you.
songwriter. And you know what? We didn't tell them, Carol, that your book is an award winning book. We have award winning authors in our presence. Tell us what award you won.
I won the Firebird Award for Best Fiction and Autobiography, Women's Fiction.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. And Dr. Hull, you are also an award winning. Your book is also an award winner. So and that's a plug because that's from Art. But you can mention it. He won the best nonfiction book for his autobiographies. So
Wow.
thank you so much,
Thank
authors
you.
Carol and Dr.
Thank
Hull.
you.
Thank you all, our
You.
wonderful attendees. We appreciate you and hopeful to see you next month at our Women's History Month presentation. Thank you so much. Take care and be well.
Thank
Okay.
you.